Hello, hello, and happy Sunday, beautiful people. It is so very good to be here with you on this Sunday morning, on this Mother's Day, as we gather together to celebrate the magnificence and the significance of the presence and power of God flowing, operating in, through, and as us. We will begin, as we always do, with prayer, and I will ground us with a reading today from the Daily Word in honor of Mother's Day. I invite you to close your eyes and take this in as we use this to anchor ourselves in prayer. The title of the reading is Mother's Blessing, and the affirmation, I honor and bless the world's mothers. Today, I offer a blessing of gratitude for the loving, nurturing spirit of mothers. I bless my mother and those who have shared a mother's love by supporting me throughout my life. I think of the many ways they have been present for me over the years with unconditional acceptance and love. I envision all mothers, grandmothers, and caregivers throughout the world surrounded by love and light. For those in my life, I take time to express my appreciation with words, gifts, and time together. To mothers to be, I prayerfully affirm health and ever-deepening joy. To mothers no longer in the world, I hold them in loving prayer and hold thoughts of joy and gratitude. I bless their souls' ongoing journeys, knowing bonds of love keep their memories alive. And the scripture, her children rise up and call her happy, from the wisdom text Proverbs 31:28. Again, I honor and bless the world's mothers. And so from this place of awareness, we take a deep breath in and we breathe out. With intention, we breathe in, and with intention, we breathe out. Again, bringing the focus of our attention here and now. We breathe in and out. There is only one mind, only one power, only one divine presence that is working in all, through all, and as all. There is one life, one truth, one love, one intelligence, one spirit, one consciousness. That life is my life now. That life is your life now. That life is all life now. And it is perfect, whole, and complete. It is individual and undivided. It can never be separate, and yet it expresses in infinite, and infinite ways. As I recognize that this power is, I recognize and remember it is here and it is now. It neither comes nor goes. All of God is right here, right now. All of God is right where you are right now. All of God is filling and overflowing in this virtual connection that we have created and established in mind and in matter. So from this place of awareness, I remember that we are one with God. I remember that we are one of God. I remember that there is no separation between us and consciousness. There is no separation between us and the ground of all being. There is no separation between us and good. There is no separation between us and abundance. We are rooted and grounded in the all, in all. We are rooted and grounded in good. We are rooted and grounded in prosperity. We are rooted and grounded in possibility. We are rooted and grounded in opportunity. And it is out of this oneness. It is out of knowing that we can never be separate from our source. It is out of this knowing that we are actually connected to a well that will not run dry. It is out of this knowing that we are perfect, whole, and complete because of this connection. I speak this word in faith, and I affirm how sweet it is. Life is sweet, life is good, as we remember and recognize the power and the presence of the mother, as we remember and recognize the power and the presence of nurturing, as we remember and recognize the power and presence of compassion and unconditional love, we say how sweet it is, for it is with us always. It is with us in human form, it is with us in spirit form, it is with us in nature, it is with us in the wind, it is with us in the trees. How sweet it is to know that we have all of these things. The presence dwells within us and among us at all times. So with joy and thanksgiving, we endeavor to deepen our knowing of this truth. We endeavor to expand our knowing of this truth. We endeavor to integrate this truth into the very marrow of our bones. For we know that as we know this, our lives must follow. We know as we know this, our lives must outpicture it. We know as we know this, we will inevitably demonstrate it. So with joy and thanksgiving, I release this prayer. I release it back into the law, which is always in operation, responding, and becoming according to our pattern of thought, according to our feeling tone, according to our vibration. We call it good now. And together we lift up our voices. We say amen,
Amen.
Ashe.
Ashe.
And so it is.
So it is.
And so it is. Yes, yes. And so it is. Well, again, hello and welcome. It is so very good to be here with each and every one of you. It is so wonderful to be here on this Mother's Day. It is so wonderful to be here on this Sunday, on this opportunity to remember yet again, to deepen yet again our awareness of the presence and power of God flowing in, through, and as us. If you are a first-time guest, hello, welcome. We're so happy that you chose to connect in with us today. We're so happy that you chose to stream with us today, whether you're streaming live or you're watching this recording at some future time. And we would like you to know that we are confident that because you are here, something will be done, something will be said that will support you in living an empowered life, that will support you in thriving, not just today, but throughout the week and throughout your life. So we encourage you to sit back, to put yourself in the posture, a receptive posture, to open up your heart and mind to receive what is being shared in the meditation, to receive what is shared through music, what is shared through the sermon, knowing that it is no mistake that you're here. And what is being done today, there's a part of you that called this forth for great transformation to empower you. We say here at CSC, and part of our mission here is that we equip humanity to live their greatest lives. And so if you're ready to live your greatest life, hang out with CSC for a little bit, and I guarantee your life will not be the same. Now, as a first-time guest, we would love to stay in touch with you. And so what you see here on your screen is how you access your digital connection card. Just text the word welcome to that phone number, 347-472-1078, and you'll receive a link. That link takes you to the digital connection card. Just complete that information. The most important piece of information is your email address. Make sure that your email address is included, and you'll be added to the mailing list. Once you've completed the information, you'll receive another text that says you're all set. If for some reason you're not able to text this number or it's not working, you'll see in this post here on YouTube and Facebook that there's a direct link that will take you directly to the digital connection card. And particularly for those that are outside of the United States, you might find that that link works better for you. But again, we are happy that you're here. We're welcoming you and know that you will receive something very powerful as a result of being here. So now is a wonderful opportunity for us to tap into our news and updates. Much of this information is also shared in our weekly newsletter that comes out each and every Friday. And then we get to move into the meditation experience, the music, and the message. Well, first and foremost, we have said it and we will continue to say it. Happy Mother's Day.
Yes.
To all the mothers. Happy Mother's Day to your mothers. If you're here and you're representing your mom today, we're through you. We're saying Happy Mother's Day to your grandmothers, caregivers, etc. And we say thank you. Thank you to all the moms. Thank you for the love. Thank you for the support. Thank you for the belief. Thank you for being who you are. Thank you for carrying us in your wombs and supporting us in coming forth in life so that then we can be all that we were designed to be, so that we can express all that we have within us to express. We love you. We appreciate you. It is the month of May, which means that at the end of this month, Memorial Day weekend, CSC will be closed. We will not hold service on the last Sunday of this month. We trust that you will honor that weekend in whatever way feels good to you and use that Sunday in whatever way feels good to you. And then, of course, we'll be back together in June. May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and mental health is something that is very key and important here at CSC. We believe in a holistic living. We believe in holistic approaches to even our awakening and enlightening. And so that means you probably need a therapist in your life.
Yeah. Yes.
And so as we say, have your therapist, have your pastors, have your spiritual practice. They are not mutually exclusive, and particularly when we consider the teachings that we teach here at CSC, particularly when we think about New Thought metaphysical principles, we're actually tapped into what's happening with the mind, and we are, of course, teaching that our emotions are wonderful, beautiful indicators, and we support feeling and expressing all of our emotions so that we can heal. And so we recognize that, unfortunately, in our lives, and particularly in communities of color, there is still a stigma around mental health. There's There's still lots of misunderstandings around mental health. And so we always want to advocate for getting the resources that you need, getting the support that you need. And we believe that we can end the stigma and thrive together. Every third Sunday is God Talk Sunday. God Talk happens next Sunday. What is the God Talk? The God Talk is your opportunity to ask questions. The God Talk is your opportunity to apply new thought metaphysical principles to the real events of your life. The God Talk is your opportunity to ask questions. You may have heard Pastor Yolanda say something in a meditation experience and you're not really sure what she meant by it, or it sparked a question. It's your opportunity to ask. You may hear something in a sermon that sparks a question. It's your opportunity to ask. You may have read something in a New Thought text or from a book that we've recommended, and you're not sure, you want a clarification. This is your opportunity to ask questions. Mm-hmm. If you're unable to ask questions on the spiritual path, run away from that place.
Right.
Lord have mercy. And so we have intentionally, before we opened our doors, designed this particular forum for that. And so we're grateful that we get to hold it in a virtual space on Zoom, which means that more people get to connect in and participate. So it happens every third Sunday at 1 p.m. following service. In order to get the Zoom link information, you have to be on the mailing list. So for our first time guests, if you're hearing about this, and I'm going to put this up on the screen in a second, if you're hearing about this and you're like, wow, that sounds pretty cool, that sounds awesome, then again, what you want to do, as we shared here, you want to text welcome to this number, 347-472-1078. Or you can look at the link that's in the post here on YouTube or Facebook and click that link. That'll take you to the digital connection card. Once you're on the mailing list, then our weekly email that comes out on Fridays, that will give you the access to the Zoom link. And actually, if you go ahead and when you sign up today, you'll receive an email, direct email with that God Talk link. Every month, we highlight a series of the month, and we thought it was appropriate to highlight this series, which takes us back to 2014, Write Your Own Love Song. PY and I were very clear that we could see out in the world lots of expressions around relationships that were simply unhealthy. And we recognize that it's not the fault of anyone, because we see that in our collective consciousness, most of the love songs that we all know and love and sing and have affirmed and vis-a-vis prayed, those songs are affirming things about love that we actually don't want to experience. Love is pain, love hurts, and love will make you cry sometimes. All of these wonderful things. And even we reference in this series one of my favorite songs, I Love to Barge, but Love Me in a Special Way is problematic, right? It's hella problematic. And so we tap into using love songs that we know and love to teach the truth of love. I encourage you to tap into it. One of the things that makes that series fun is that we actually did the sermon series together. So each week we're kind of playing off of each other in wonderful ways. And it's still very vital, very vibrant, and can absolutely illuminate your perspective on relationships, especially if you're calling in the one. You need this information. Every Wednesday morning, we gather together at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for the Momentum Prayer Call. The Momentum Prayer Call is a perfect way to begin your day in the middle, on hump day, in the middle of the week. A wonderful way to do that. We start by sharing a reading similar to what we did this morning, and then we pray and we move on with our day. It's also a wonderful way to continue the momentum, because sometimes we find, and I've found that many of you leave here on Sundays on a high and you're feeling good. But by the time you get to Tuesday, you may have forgotten all that you received on Sunday. And so Wednesday is a wonderful way to re-inject that knowing, re-inject and remind your mind of what is true. As I love to say, God is paying attention to what you're paying attention to. And so if you put the focus of your attention on affirming the truth and get definite with the infinite on Wednesday morning, I guarantee that will begin to show up and demonstrate as your life, not just on Wednesday, but throughout the week and ultimately throughout your life. So please join us. Now, if that time does not work with your schedule for some reason, all good. The prayer is recorded, and so you can use the playback number and access the most recent prayer at any time. If you have a prayer request, we encourage you to send that prayer request to prayerchampions@celebrationsc.org. PY and I are holding the community in our hearts and our minds at all times. And we recognize that you may have a specific thing that you're seeking prayer about or around, or you may want to submit the name of a loved one, a friend, a colleague. All good. Send that information into this email. They will be added to that list. They will be added to that ultimate knowing, that affirming, that praying and thinking and knowing from the realm of truth, from the answer. And we also encourage you that as your prayer is being answered, to absolutely send us an email to prayerchampions@celebrationsc.org and let us know how that prayer has been answered. We are so excited to let you know about the book that we will be studying this summer as we tap into the Truth Sunday Masterclass. The Truth Sunday Masterclass is almost back. It begins on the first Sunday in June 2nd. And this year we are going to be studying It's Up to You by Ernest Holmes. If you're not familiar with the Masterclass, this is something that was birthed due to the start of the pandemic in 2020. We kind of shifted the way we thought about the weekend service. And so we teach the text line by line. We're going to have it up on the screen. We're going to read through the text, and PY and I are going to comment on the text, expand and expound on the text, call out the text when needed, and clarify some of those things, because we recognize that there are some problematic things in many of these, written by many of these white teachers, particularly white men. And it is a powerful, powerful, illuminating time. It's a way to essentially get a class with the two of us for free 99. You just got to be in the building.
Right.
You just got to be in the building. And so we're excited about this text. We'll continue to talk more about it next week, and we'll continue to post and remind you and send emails about it. Get the book. If you're on the mailing list, we have a link to Amazon so you can get the book quickly. It is available in digital format. It is also available in print format. But this is going to be good, y'all. Going to be very good. And we also encourage you to invite somebody. Let somebody know about this. And if they're not sure about it, send them a link to one of the previous master classes, right? We've done some powerful things. We studied Eric Butterworth's Spiritual Economics. We did Florence Scovel Shinn, The Game of Life and How to Play It. We've done The Power of Decision, Raymond Charles Barker. Who else did we do?
I think that's right.
There's another one. I can't think of it right now, but it's all good. We've tapped into powerful texts, and we know and we have seen from and heard from so many of you how empowering and impactful it was. And many people are still discovering the master classes and tapping into the wisdom of the master classes. And so it's a wonderful thing. You want to be in the building.
And you want to get your copy. I remember seeing a comment recently, why don't you all do a book club? Well, this is your book club. We call it the master class because we want to master these teachings. We want to master our mind. And we do it together, line by line, so you're not left out there guessing. If you purchase the book, whichever format you like, and read along with us week and week and week, you'll get this understanding. You don't have to go off and do it alone. Yeah. This is your book club. This is your opportunity to even ask questions, to go deeper if you've read this text before. Because I guarantee if you've read it before, you haven't read it with us before.
Absolutely.
And so we look forward to having the masterclass begin next month, first Sunday, and studying this classic text with you all.
Yes, it's going to be amazing. And so that concludes our news and updates for this Sunday, which means we now get to go within as we are led in the meditation experience with Pastor Yolanda.
Yes, it is time for the meditation experience. We do everything very intentionally here, and when we're in the process of creating Celebration Spiritual Center, we knew that it was important to take time each Sunday to go within and to do more than just read text. We know it's important to analyze and internalize the text, but until you have a direct experience of God within yourself, for yourself, all of that is good information. But we want you to experience God alive and well within you. And the only way to do that really on a consistent basis is through meditation. It is that consciousness that we drop into that sends us deep into the center of our being, that sends us into a deeper knowing of the things that we read. We have to experience God for ourselves. I can't just tell you about it. You got to understand it and feel it alive for yourself. And so we take time every Sunday to take an affirmative thought and to allow that thought to marinate and resonate and integrate into our breath. And our very souls get activated and reminded this is true. It's not just fact, it is also truth that I get to experience. And so this month, we are taking one of my favorite lessons from A Course in Miracles, lesson 188. The peace of God is shining in me now. It's shining in me now. This lesson is one of my favorites because it says something important. Why wait for heaven? I remember the first time I read that line, I was like, because I had been trained to think that heaven is some faraway place that I have to be good enough to get into. And what the text is saying is, why wait for that? It is alive and well because the peace of God, the thing we think we have to wait to get, is shining in us now. Every breath, the peace of God is there. PG said it this morning in prayer. We are rooted and grounded in something. We're rooted and grounded in power and prosperity. And we're rooted and grounded in the peace of God. This is powerful truth that you can remind yourself in any moment when it looks crazy out there, when we are distracted by the world's comments, conversations, beliefs, thoughts, when we even get distracted by our own misunderstanding and disbelief. We can close our eyes and remember something. It is our birthright to experience the peace of God, not waiting for the peace of God when we get to heaven. Heaven is a state in our mind, and we access it every Sunday. We access it every time we close our eyes and follow the breath and affirm the peace of God is shining in me now. I'm not waiting. I'm letting it shine. So let's do that. Go ahead and find yourself a comfortable seat. Feel on the floor as we celebrate Mother's Day. We are grounded in the divine feminine. We are grounded in the truth that the power is rising up through us. We're grounded in the truth that the peace of God is shining in us now. We don't have to wait. We just experience it. We just allow it. We just breathe it. So from this place of groundedness, feet on the floor, allowing the ears to align over the shoulders, shoulders over hips. We plant the palms, which interestingly relaxes the thighs. And from this place of offering ourselves up to peace, we look around the room and remind ourselves that where we are is safe. And from this place of safety and divine feminine energy and peace, we allow our eyelids to close. And that simple act of closing the eyelids begins to signal our conscious mind that it can relax. And when we send the signal to our conscious mind to relax, it complies and follows the breath. So let's take a few moments to just notice the breath right where it is. And whether that breath appears to be deep or shallow, we make no judgment of the breath. We practice non-judgment of ourselves as we notice the breath right where it is. Beautiful, everyone. Now, let's take conscious control of the breath, for we can choose how we breathe, and we can choose to allow the peace of God to just shine in us now. And when we place our focus on the breath, deep in the low belly, we set the intention to breathe deeply and fully. And we're going to breathe, inhaling through the nostrils for a count of 4. We're going to hold for 4. Exhale through the mouth for 4. And then just relax for 4. Let's begin and let's signal this peace to shine in us now. Together, inhale into the low belly. Inhale. Hold for 4. And open the mouth, relax the jaw, and sigh it out for 4. Relax and receive. Again, in through the low belly, expanding the breath. Holding for 4 now. And releasing anything that would prevent you from being in heaven and in peace. Sigh it out. And relax. In through the low belly, now connecting low breath to mid breath, expanding the rib cage. Hold for 4. Relax the jaw when you're ready. And let the sound give you more peace. And relax in the silence. In through the low belly, up through the rib cage, we've expanded the sides and now the front and the back, creating more space for breath, more space for peace. And hold. And without collapsing the body, just release the breath, sigh it out. And welcome the peace. In through the low belly, up through the rib cage, now allowing that breath to make its way to that healing heart. Hold it at the center. And when you're ready, sigh it out. And let the peace shine in you now. In through the low belly, up through the rib cage, rising because it wants to rise to that heart. When you reach the top, hold there. And release the breath, sigh it out, or relax the shoulders, release it. And the peace follows so easily. Let's do a few rounds of this full breath. Many times we're not taking the fullest breath, and we get to practice it here. Dropping the breath low into the belly, allowing it to rise, connecting low to mid to high. And when you reach the top this time, we're going to slow it down. Inhaling and exhaling through the nostrils for a count of 6. Hold at the top. And exhale through the nose, count of 6. Letting the peace settle in, letting the peace shine and take over. Practice a few rounds on your own, in and out through the nostrils, count of 6. Last round. As we breathe in the peace of God, we remember that it is shining in us now, that this light can never be extinguished. If we think it is gone, we merely go within, breathe, and affirm. The peace of God is shining in us now. Let's take this breath, this peace, this ease, this knowing into our feet. Maybe you raise the heels or wiggle the toes, just signaling the vibration and stimulating the feet. Stop the movement. Relax the feet now. Energy flows up through the soles of the feet, crossing the ankles. Relax the ankles. And that energy cannot be stopped. The light of God within you cannot be extinguished. That light carries the peace. Let it move across the shins and the calves. Relax the shins and the calves. Energy flows across the knees. As you feel the energy, know the peace is there. Relax the knees. Energy flows across the thighs now, the hamstrings, the glutes. Go ahead and give yourself permission to relax the thighs, the hamstrings, the glutes. In fact, surrender the lower half of your body to the seat where you are. You are held and you are loved. Energy is now gathered at the base of the spine. We give that energy, that light, that kundalini, permission to rise. As we inhale through the nose, and when we're ready, we exhale through the nose and allow. Energy flows in and up. And exhale through the nostrils and allow. Deep inhale, circulating through the system and exhaling through the nostrils as the energy flows in and up. And up, and up, and up. And we give it permission to flow out through the crown of our head. Imagine yourself as that beacon of light. Imagine yourself as the peace of God shines in you now, through you now, and as you now. Feel it flow back down through the crown, crossing the third eye, down the throat, gently relaxing the shoulders as that energy and peace flows down the arms and out the fingertips. The peace of God is shining in you now. Go ahead and scan your body one last time. Notice without judgment if there's any tension. Send love there, compassion there, and peace there. As we prepare for our silent time, if the mind wanders, it is okay. Part of this process and experience is learning to be kind to our wandering mind. When we become aware, we bring it back to the affirmative thought, and we let the truth of that thought wash over us. For the peace of God is shining in you now. The peace of God is shining in me now. The peace of God is shining in us all now. I will monitor the time. You just marinate in the peace of God and let it shine in you now. With our eyelids still closed, we enjoy this sacred time. For every breath signals the inhale and exhale, and every breath signals that the peace of God is shining in us now. You see, this light came with you when you arrived. And this light and this peace cannot be extinguished by anything. It shines within you and signals where home is. That peace is your home, and you are worthy of returning to it at any time. With our eyelids still closed, we enjoy this internal experience of God. Right where we are rooted and grounded in this peace. With our eyelids still closed, we remember that we bring it back with us, not just for a moment, but for eternity. If the palms are turned up, go ahead and turn them down. As we inhale, we draw the shoulders up by the ears, gently waking the body, lengthening the breath. Exhale as we release the shoulder blades gently down and back. Inhale, drawing the shoulders up by the ears, feeling that elongation in the body. Exhale, release the shoulders back and down. And one more time, inhaling up. Exhaling nice and gently, no rushing, no jerking, just gentle movement. Stop the movement and bring the palms together at heart center, touching the thumbs into the sternum, that little bony ridge right there. Bow the chin towards the fingertips if you are able. Noticing the opening at the base of the neck all the way down the spine. And nice and easy, allow the eyelids to gently open. Finding a soft gaze, no strain on the eyes or the experience. Inhale, raise the chin, raise the gaze. Release the breath. Maintain the peace. Namaste.
Maintain the peace. Yes, yes. Thank you, PY.
Welcome.
As a reminder, every Monday is Meditation Mondays, so you can tap back into this meditation. You can also go back directly to this meditation. We make it very easy to share it with others, and so you will see there's a playlist of the meditation experience. All the meditations for this year are included in one beautiful playlist that you can access and again share at any time. We encourage you also to like the post, and subscribe if you have not already subscribed to our YouTube channel. Well, we are deep in our series, Tell Me About Your God. We're in the second half of the series here in May as we are studying the 7 main aspects of God as written by Emmett Fox. And so today we're going to be looking at the 6th aspect, and I will be speaking from the topic, You Are Spirit. But of course, before we do that, we're going to hear from Soul 21. I'll see you on the other side. There is a foundational truth that we teach and we affirm and we repeat over and over again in this teaching we call New Thought. That what we know as God, what we refer to as God, is omnipresent. And when we say that it's omnipresent, what I like to say is that God is constantly encountered. If we are deep in the valley of depression, anxiety, or problems, source is right there. If we are in the joy and elation of some good news, source is there. And that's important because particularly when we are experiencing things that are unwanted, it appears that God couldn't be there. But it's because God is everywhere present that we're able to shift any circumstance or any situation. And so, as I was reflecting on that, and this idea of the omnipresence of God, there is no spot where God is not, I just began to think about all of the ways and places that I find this thing called God. And one of the easiest places that we can go to find the divine is through our breath. Every time you breathe in, you are literally breathing in God. Every time you breathe out, you are literally breathing out God. And as I began to contemplate that, this song came. And so we're going to affirm this truth that we always find God. We always find God.
From the simplest place of breathing to the rivers, the seas, the mountains, the trees, I always find you. With every breath that I breathe, I always find you. I always find you. I always find you. I always find you. Find you. Find you. Find you. I always find you. Find you. Oh, find you. I always find you. With every breath.
With every breath that I breathe, I always find you. I always find you.
In the rhythm,
In the rhythm,
my heartbeat, I always find you.
I always find you.
I always find you.
Always find you.
Put your hand on your heart and feel God.
Find you. Find you.
Find you.
Find you. Find you.
Every breath I breathe, in the rhythm of my heart,
I always find you.
in the beauty of the trees, I always find you.
Always find you.
I always find you.
Always find you.
In the rivers and the seas,
In the rivers and the seas.
I always find you.
Always find you.
I find you.
Find you.
In the beauty of the trees,
Find you.
in the rivers and the seas,
Find you.
I always find you.
Find you.
Oh, find you.
Find you.
Always.
I always find you.
Colors of humanity,
Colors of humanity.
I always find you.
I always
Look around the room. Look around the room. Look at the beautiful tapestry.
find
Red and yellow, blue and green, yeah.
blue and green.
I always find you. Find you. We find you.
Find you.
so it is.
Yes, yes, yes. This is another powerful way to affirm there is no spot where God is not. I always find you with every breath that I breathe. I always find you. God is closer than your breath and closer than your hand. God is right here, right now. If you're in the mountain or if you're in the valley, God, the all that is, life, truth, love, intelligence, consciousness, spirit, principle, is right where you are. Well, hello, 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 beautiful people. It is so good to be here with each and every one of you. So good to be here again on this Sunday. Happy Mother's Day again to all the mothers. Also, for those of you are just joining in with us this Sunday and were not with us last Sunday, you may notice that we're in a different location. PY and I are bringing love and joy to each and every one of you from Barbados. There's work being done on our apartment, and so we're away for the month so that work can happen wonderfully, and enjoying this time here, working in Barbados and enjoying this beautiful island in the process. So let's tap into our sermon for today. And of course, before we get into the heart of the sermon, we love to center ourselves and ground ourselves with these words of prayer. And so I invite you to repeat after me. I welcome the Spirit of truth into my mind and let it grow in my heart. Thank you, God, in me, through me, and as me. Amen. Ashe. And so it is. Well, we love to review where we've been as we're looking at the 7 main aspects of God as written by Emmett Fox. And so last week, in week 5, we looked at the 5th aspect, which is soul. And Emmett Fox writes in the text, the 5th main aspect of God is soul. Soul is that aspect of God by virtue of which God is able to individualize itself. The word individual means undivided. See Webster's. Individual means undivided, and God has the power of individualizing itself without, so to speak, breaking itself into parts. And in that sermon, Undivided, I elevated our understanding of Fox's use of soul by using the word consciousness, supported by the work of quantum physicist Amit Goswami and also Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, who, by the way, was also a physicist, was a scientist, and he brought his scientific understanding and scientific mind to the realm of consciousness to bring forth the teachings that he has given to us and that are still speaking to our times and inspiring so many. And so we have the 7 main aspects of God: life, truth, love, intelligence, soul or consciousness, spirit, and principle. And like soul or consciousness, this week, as we look at spirit, you'll see that there's another word that is an adequate substitute and which may illuminate your understanding of God as spirit. And it will also harmonize texts that you may have read in the past so that you will see how each teacher in truth is referencing the same thing. Last week, Fox gave us a clue about God as spirit, and if you were paying close attention, it may have stuck out to you. As I talked about last week, the idea of matter cannot be individualized, I read this: God individualizes itself as humanity, and so you are really an individualization of God. God can individualize itself in an infinite number of distinct beings or units of consciousness and yet not be separate in any way. Now, that's a profound fundamental truth, right? We must know that we're actually never separate from our source. We affirm that in prayer. We affirm that in meditation, right? And he goes on, he says, only God can do this because God is spirit. Matter cannot be individualized. It can only be broken up. And so there I say, if you were paying close attention, we were essentially alluding to where we're going to be this week. Only God can do this because God is spirit. So we understand that God is consciousness, and we understand what consciousness is and what consciousness does. It individualizes itself. And the reason that it is able to do that is because God is spirit. Matter cannot do that. And so when we dig into the reading of the sixth main aspect, we read these words. The sixth main aspect of God is spirit. God is spirit. We know that God is spirit, but what does that mean? Well, spirit is that which cannot be destroyed or damaged or hurt or degraded or soiled in any way. Spirit cannot deteriorate. It cannot grow old or tired. It cannot know sin or condemnation or resentment or disappointment. It is the opposite of matter. And what's interesting, I was thinking about this, if we understand, many of you know and have seen quoted, even Jay-Z has quoted it in one of his songs, A Course in Miracles, nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. It's pointing to this reality, this aspect of God as spirit, because it says it can't be destroyed or damaged or hurt. That's the truth of life. And remember, you are one with life, with God, with spirit, with consciousness. And so then we understand that what we're talking about here in that last sentence where Fox says it is the opposite of matter, we're talking about the physical versus the metaphysical. We're starting to tap in here to the physical versus the non-physical. We're here now tapping into matter versus spirit. And when I use verses here, I don't mean in an adversarial way like Ali versus Foreman or Drake versus Kendrick Lamar. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about two sides of existence, two sides of this thing that we call God. One is eternal and one is temporal. One is within and one is external. Spirit is eternal. Spirit cannot be created nor destroyed. Spirit is the same yesterday, today, and forevermore. Spirit knows no bounds. Spirit knows no lack. Spirit knows no limitations. Spirit is formless and yet becomes any form. Because what did Fox write? God individualizes itself in an infinite number of distinct beings or units of consciousness. And so this is why here out in the external world, we get confused into the sleep and the lie of separation. Years ago, I preached a sermon, what happens when we believe a lie. And we recognize that underneath the greatest lie is separation. Oh, Siri's listening to me. We recognize that the biggest lie is separation, right? And so, yes, God expresses itself as distinct beings. Yes, God expresses itself and manifests itself as units of consciousness. And we think that because we see this separation that we are separate, but that is not the truth. And so when we tap into the reality of knowing who and what God is, we then come to the realization of this oneness. We come into this realization of the truth of our being. Now, matter is altogether different from spirit. What Fox says is that matter wears out. Matter is always deteriorating. Matter wears out, but spirit does not, because spirit is substance. Did you catch that? Spirit is what? Spirit is substance. And so here's the word that I wanted you to come into an understanding of, because you may know, of course, we say this all the time, and you can read it in so many different texts, this idea of God being substance. And this is important because this is what supports us in no longer anthropomorphizing God. This is what supports us in no longer, treating or thinking about God like a person, right? A place or an individual, and giving it human characteristics. In this reading also, this idea of matter is always deteriorating. Fox writes in the text, he's like, the book that you're holding right now, the pages will already start to fray. It may take a long time before you see the ultimate results of that. This iPad that I'm holding right now, eventually it will become useless. Eventually it will degrade. That's part of the nature of matter. That's how it works. It wears out, but spirit does not, because spirit is substance. And so, of course, as I said, we can start to look at other teachers and see that there's a harmony, that there's something being said that's really the same. And so if we look at Ernest Holmes, The Science of Mind Introduction, Part 4, How to Use It, he writes, we are surrounded by an intelligent force and substance. Now, we talked a few weeks ago. What is God? God is intelligence, an intelligent force and substance from which all things come. So again, this is the truth, that consciousness or soul is the thing that individualizes and particularizes itself and yet never exhausts itself. It is undivided. It is the thing from which all things come, the ultimate essence. Another beautiful word that Holmes uses. In the invisible and subjective world of all visible and objective forms and conditions. It is around us in its original state, ready and willing to take form through the impulse of our creative belief. It works for us by flowing through us. And then Emily Cady in Lessons in Truth, which we've been using each week to give us another understanding of these aspects of God. Emily Cady writes beautifully, God then is substance. From sub, under, and stare, to stand. She's pointing to the Latin. Or the real thing standing under every visible form of life, love, intelligence, or power. That one sentence, if you get that, if you just meditate on that and really let that become a reality in your day-to-day life, everything would transform. Because you would recognize then that everything you see, which is including all that you are or all that belongs to you or all that's a part of your life and affairs, if you understand that standing under it is this thing that we call God, the life, love, truth, intelligence, consciousness that we've been talking about, that then would be your source of power. And that then there's no way that you could fear. So again, this is why A Course in Miracles says, nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. You would walk, you would flow through life, knowing this peace of God that's shining in us now, as Pastor Yolanda is teaching us about through the meditation experience. That's what would be your daily reality. She goes on, each rock, tree, animal, every visible thing is a manifestation of the one Spirit, God, differing only in degree of manifestation, and each of the numberless modes of manifestations or individualities, however significant, contains the whole. So she's given us another way to think about it. As Fox talked about this idea of infinite number of distinct beings or units of consciousness, Emily Cady is telling us that each of us are numberless modes of manifestation or individualities, however insignificant, and we contain the whole. All of us is a manifestation of the one Spirit, God. So here again, we hear substance, we hear spirit being used interchangeably here. She goes on and writes, one drop of water taken from the ocean is just as perfect ocean water as the whole great body. Each contains the whole, and yet no one would make the mistake of supposing from this statement that each drop is the entire ocean. I could get a bottle and maybe I want to have a souvenir, and I could go out to the beach today and put some of the water from the Caribbean Sea in that bottle so that I can take it back with me. And if I showed you that bottle, I would say, look, here's the waters from Barbados. Here's the Caribbean Sea. And yet you would know that it's not the entire Caribbean Sea, but yet you would also know that it contains the whole. She goes on and writes, so we say that each individual manifestation of God contains the whole. Not for a moment meaning that each individual is God in God's entirety, so to speak, but that each is God come forth, shall I say, in different degree or quantity. Each of us is God come forth. We talked about this idea. You are an individualization of God, individualized, particularized expression of the all in all. And so Emily Cady, Dr. Emily Cady, is pointing us to the same truth that Fox has pointed us to. We are an individualization of God, individualized, particularized, undivided expression of spirit or substance. And so then Emmett Fox takes us to the key point for today. He writes, you are spirit. Your body is spiritual, but you are spirit. Spirit cannot die and was never born. Your true self was never born and will never die. You are eternal, divine, unchanging spirit in your true nature. And one of the things that I love to think about, because as we start to talk about these ideas, this can get some traditional Christians that can ruffle their feathers, and they think that we're talking something crazy. But in the canonized scripture, in the First Testament, we hear these words that are in the mouth of God. Before you were formed in your mother's womb, I knew you. And if you use your logical mind, which unfortunately sometimes traditional Christians don't want to do, you realize that this means that you existed before your body existed. See, when you were formed in your mother's womb, that's then where your blood and bones and organs and skin and eyes and head and brain and all of that formed. But it says before you were formed in your mother's womb, before you had a body, before that physical matter process happened, I knew you. And if you could be known, you must exist. Yes, yes? And so we understand that this is the truth of who and what you are. You are spirit. Your body is spiritual. And we're going to break that down, what that means. But you are spirit. Spirit cannot die and was never born. Your true self was never born and will never die. You are eternal, divine, unchanging spirit in your true nature. And if that was understood, if that spiritual knowing and that spiritual understanding was actually embraced, we could throw away the whole idea of heaven and hell. Right? Because heaven and hell is rooted in this idea of eternal suffering, and this idea of what you do in this life then is going to affect what happens in the next life, supposedly. But we recognize that the truth of you is eternal. The truth of you is the truth of spirit. And knowing and understanding God as spirit or substance is to know and understand something deeply profound and powerful about who you are. You are spirit. The truth of you is eternal. The truth of you cannot be hurt or harmed. The truth of you was never born and cannot die. The truth of you knows no bounds. The truth of you knows no limitation. The truth of you knows no lack. The truth of you knows no sickness. The truth of you knows no dis-ease. You are spirit. Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies what? The peace of God. Herein lies what? Your freedom. Herein lies what? Your power. Herein lies what? Your prosperity and abundance. Herein lies what? Your healing. Herein lies what? The very peace of God. And so I said I was going to break down a line because he says you are spirit, your body is spiritual. And what Fox is talking about, and he's inviting us to understand there is a difference. He writes that your body is spiritual, but you are spirit. He goes on and says, you are not a spiritual idea. You are an individualization of God. But things are spiritual ideas, great or small. So if we think about the ideas that we have and we understand about manifestation and we understand about demonstration, we know that thoughts become things, right? That we hold an idea in mind. Even as I quoted Ernest Holmes, where he says it works for us by flowing through us. And so we hold an idea in mind, and we know that we can hold that idea and focus on it and get full of the feeling, get that fulfillment, as Reverend Ike says, and we can bring that thing into manifestation. Many things, we can do that consciously, and of course, we are always doing that unconsciously. And so if we understand that, then what we must understand is that the world of matter are actually spiritual ideas made manifest, great or small. But you are an individualization of God. You are God informed. You're not a spiritual idea, right? And so herein lies the reason and power behind why we are able to change things here in this physical world. Emmett Fox writes that the time to realize the aspect of God as spirit is when something seems to be damaged or soiled or in decay. And this very much relates to also understanding God as life, right? Because as we talked about in that the affirmational statement, life be lifing, what we understand is that life, as it has no ending nor beginning and is constantly giving of itself, is constantly powering and empowering, then we know that wherever we see damage or something is soiled or decayed, we can turn to the reality that God is spirit. We are spirit. We can turn to the reality that God is life and we are one with life, and allow the expression of life to then pour through us, to flow through us, as Ernest Holmes says. And so you may recall there's something that I've shared some years ago, a thought process that I go through many times, and we're going to adjust that a little bit for today. But I found myself, whenever I'm thinking from the place of fear, whenever I'm thinking from the place of lack and limitation, whenever I'm thinking from a place that is anything other than all sufficiency, anything other than I have and am one with supply, and that happens often because I'm human, I, of course, come to myself. I, of course, hear myself and realize that I will never think a thing that I do not want realized in my life. And so I begin to course correct, as PY would say. And so what I have learned to do and what I say to myself to shift myself back into alignment, to realign my conscious mind with my God mind, I say, wait a minute, I'm God. Now, I don't say that from the narcissistic place, and to echo again what Dr. Emily Cady says, when we say that each is an individual manifestation of God, not for a moment meaning that each individual is God in its entirety, but that each is God come forth, shall I say, in a different quantity or degree. And so I say that to myself, wait a minute, I'm God. Knowing that I'm not the entirety of God, but knowing that I'm an individualized, particularized, undivided expression of God, and all of God is right here now as me, in me, and through me. And that's what allows me to tap into the power and the truth of who and whose I am. Well, I encourage you today, taking the inspiration from this sermon, taking the wisdom from this sermon, and say, wait a minute, I'm spirit. Woo, Lord have mercy. Wait a minute. When those thoughts of fear start to show up, when those thoughts of lack start to show up, when you forget who you are, when you're about to say an answer to a name that ain't yours, when you're about to answer when somebody calls you fear, when you're about to answer when you're being called poor, when you're about to answer when you're being called less than, when you're about to answer and being called not enough, when you're about to answer to any other name but your God name, wait a minute. I'm spirit. That should have been the title. Oh, that feels good. You are spirit. And you use that to bring yourself back. Because we recognize that if you are spirit, we recognize what you have working in, as and through you. And Ernest Holmes writes this in the introduction of The Science of Mind, part 3, what it does. We should be very careful to not think that because we make the mold, here he's talking about the thought, the pattern of our thoughts, we create the mold that then substance fills. We must create substance, or that spirit fills. It already exists. It is part of the life in which we live, a part of the universal energy. So what we're doing, we're not trying to create anything. We just simply come back into the remembrance of it. It's like, have you ever been in a situation where you were looking for some money and you forgot that you had some money somewhere? You forgot that you had a bank account that you didn't know about, or you just forgot that you had hid some money somewhere or put it in another wallet, right? And all of a sudden you come to awareness like, oh, wait, I have $20. I have an extra $100. I didn't realize that I had this money, right? This is the awareness that we're coming to. It's something that already exists, because everything in this world of matter is a spiritual idea, and everything in this world of matter can be changed. You must know, you must say, you must affirm and believe my body is a spiritual idea. My money is a spiritual idea. My career is a spiritual idea. My health, oh, Lord have mercy, is a spiritual idea. My relationships are a spiritual idea. My family is a spiritual idea. My home is a spiritual idea, which means if at any point you are thinking about those things in a way that brings about fear, if you're thinking about those things in a way that leads you down the road of lack and limitation and worry and doubt and anxiousness, you come back and you say, wait a minute, I'm spirit. And these things, my relationships, my family, my home, health, career, money, body, these are spiritual ideas. These are changeable. Spirit is changeless, the same yesterday, today, and forevermore. And so Emmett Fox writes, when something is giving trouble, affirm and try to realize that in reality, it is a spiritual idea, and watch what happens. See, what we've been taught to believe and the way we've been taught to interact with this world is that everything that happens in our lives are fixed ideas, and it just is what it is. That's just the way it is. That's the way it's got to go. Some of us just have a certain lot in life. Some people are lucky and some people are unlucky, and some people are born into good fortune and other people aren't. Some people, the circumstances of their birth supported them in a beautiful way, and this person had a good mother and I didn't have a good mother, or this person had their father, I didn't have my father. Right? All of these things, people affirm all of these things, and it's like, well, and then that's just the way it is. Because of that, my life must look a certain way. But the truth is, when you realize that in reality, these are spiritual ideas, matter is a spiritual idea, which means that it can change and does change. It means that it can be renewed. It means that it can be restored. It means that it can be replenished. It means that it can be refreshed. Understanding that you are spirit then allows you to embody and demonstrate God. And what do I say when I say embody and demonstrate God? I mean, you then allow life to come into the picture. You then allow truth to come into the picture. You then allow love to come into the picture. You then allow intelligence to come into the picture. You've heard me say it many times. God responds and God becomes. But God can only respond and become according to our level of allowance and acceptance. And so whenever we are thinking in opposite to the truth of who and what we are, what we have essentially done, instead of opening up the windows so sunlight can come in, we've closed the windows and pulled down blackout curtains, and the sun is still shining, but we got the curtains and the blackout curtains and the windows closed. And so metaphorically, what we're doing when we bring our heart and our minds to this reality, wait a minute, I'm spirit. We're opening up the curtains. Wait a minute, I'm spirit. We're opening up those blackout curtains. Wait a minute, I'm spirit. We're opening up the windows and we're letting the sun shine in. Let the sun shine. Let the sun shine. Let the truth shine, let love shine, let life shine, let intelligence shine, let it come into the picture. And as Fox writes, and when you realize this, when you come to this awareness that, oh, this is a spiritual idea, nothing real can be threatened and nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. Watch what happens. When we accept and allow this revelation, miracles are inevitable. And hear this, and this is not supernatural. This is natural law in operation. See, that's the other place we get into. We want some change. We want something to happen in our lives, but we think it has to be something supernatural. No, everything that has ever taken place that one would call miraculous or even supernatural, if it happened in the natural, it must be natural. This iPhone is natural. But 1,000 years ago, this would have seemed otherworldly. If I went back in time and brought this thing into being and showed them how it worked, it would seem supernatural. But yet everything about this is natural. Everything about this is natural. It's making use of what already existed thousands of years ago, but we brought that new idea into mind. So it is the same for any change, any miracle, any blessing, any healing that you are seeking in your life. You got to know you're not working with the supernatural, you're working with the natural. Ernest Holmes writes in The Thing Itself, intro, part 1 of Science of Mind, the road to freedom lies not through mysteries or occult performances, but through the intelligent use of nature's forces and laws. The law of mind is a natural law in the spiritual world. He's also saying we ain't got to do a whole bunch of other stuff that humans tend to think they need to do. But intelligent use of nature's forces, everything that we're talking about is natural law. It is natural law in the spiritual world. And so, in conclusion, God is spirit. Spirit, unlike matter, cannot deteriorate or be destroyed. Reminding you of what Emmett Fox writes, it cannot grow old or tired. It cannot know sin. I want to I was going to say this earlier. I want to tap into that for a second because this is a problematic understanding that we get to heal today. It cannot know sin. And traditional Christians have often taught this idea that God can't look upon sin. The words that even goes, and for me, growing up in the Pentecostal Holiness Church, that it's a stench to God's nostrils. Right? And so this is that understanding of like, so this is why we got to be perfect, or you can't come to God if you're sinful, right? You can't even ask God for things. You can't even receive the blessings of God because God cannot know sin. But I hope already you can hear even what is meant by this when we understand that God is spirit. When we understand that it is something that cannot deteriorate or be destroyed, it cannot grow old or tired, it cannot know sin, he goes on, or condemnation. God does not forgive because God does not condemn, right? Love does not condemn. It cannot know resentment or disappointment. First of all, what we're talking about is this is all that human mess. Now, sin, importantly enough, simply means to make a mistake or miss the mark. And we as human beings in this human form, which is temporary and deteriorates, will make mistakes, right? Whether it's omission or commission, right? Whether we deliberately made it or just, stuff happens, right? And so when we understand the idea of, in this case, that God cannot know sin or mistakes or cannot miss the mark, what it's then offering us is to start to embrace this reality that even as in this temporal area we may make mistakes, the truth of us is what? Sinless. This is why we affirm and can affirm with confidence that we are perfect, whole, and complete, right? Not in the sense that we dot every I and cross every T, but behind that, we are sinless. And so that's what it means when we say that spirit cannot know sin or condemnation. It does not mean that you don't have access to God, unless you're perfect. That's not what that means. And that's a traditional understanding. I hope we just healed that in somebody's heart and mind today. Spirit is substance, meaning that which stands under, the foundation. It works for us by flowing or working through us. As an individualization of God, then we are spirit. We are not our bodies. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. We are eternal. We are unlimited. We are limitless. We are boundless. We are spirit. And so then the world outside of us, the physical world, all matter are spiritual ideas. Thoughts become things. And of course, thoughts become things based on a set of beliefs. And I love the definition that we get from Abraham Hicks, right? A belief is simply a thought you keep thinking, and any thought can be changed, which means any belief can be changed, which ultimately means anything in this physical realm of existence can be shifted, can be changed, can be transmuted. Matter is subject to spirit, but you got to know that. See, if you don't know that, if you don't embrace that, then you're going to be living life thinking that there's some power outside of you that's causing and controlling everything. Consciousness manifests into matter. Knowing that these are spiritual ideas subject to spirit is how and why we can change our outer circumstances and experiences and demonstrate good. And so we treat our minds to remember that God is spirit. We treat our minds to remember that God is supply. We treat our minds to remember that we are one with spirit. We treat our minds to remember that we are one with good. We treat our minds to remember that we are one with abundance. We treat our minds to remember that we are one with prosperity. We treat our minds to remember that we are one with healing. We rest in this blessed union. We rest in this holy knowing. We rest in this divine truth. And I'll take a portion of a spiritual mind treatment from Ernest Holmes in The Science of Mind. We'll close with this. I am unified with universal law, creating, delivering, perfecting. I rest in mind, rejoicing that I have only to accept the perfect results of this natural law. I give myself completely to this perfect law, and I am at peace. I'm going to say that again. I give myself completely to this perfect law, and I am at peace. I am serene because I know that I am in the care of perfection in action. We let it be so. Amen. Ashe. And so it is.
Today was full of a lot of remembering. Maybe you've never heard it said this way about you being spirit. Maybe you never heard of yourself as a spiritual idea, that everything about you comes through consciousness in this form as spirit. We seem to be limited by our bodies and our conditions and our experiences, but we are not. No. We are spirit, yes. And spirit never dies. We are spirit and we are prosperous forever. Yes. It's not limited. There is no sin in us. There is no lack and limitation in us. Mm-hmm. This week, go forth as spirit. Mm-hmm. Go forth as spirit. Mm-hmm. Let this teaching, come back to it if you get out there and get caught out there thinking that you're not spirit. Mm-hmm. Come back to this message and remember that you are.
Yes, yes.
Thank you, PG.
Yes, yes. You're welcome. Herein lies the peace of God. When we know this truth, as Holmes says, we are serene. Mm-hmm. See, there's a way to walk in this world when you know who you are. Lord have mercy, with your head held high and your shoulders back. Mm-hmm. I'm good. Herein lies the peace of God, and the peace of God is shining, 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 shining in us, through us, as us now.
Yes, yes.
Well, in this moment, you can see here on your screen, it is the time for giving. You've also seen it throughout the stream. It's very easy to give to CSC. How to give? You can go to our website, celebrationsc.org/give, or you can text 347-744-9500. But of course, what we talk about and teach often here, week in and week out, not just often, is that giving is a spiritual practice and that we must give what feels good. And one of the things that I really want to bring your hearts and minds to in this week and in the coming weeks is to understand something about the law of receiving. And I think I may do something, of Instagram Live or something around this, right? Because I know that we all want to receive. And the truth of the principle is that giving precedes and predetermines all receiving. Now, oftentimes, and because we're talking about giving here and money, many people think that, I have to give money, right? That it takes money to make money. That's not necessarily true. What is true is that you have to give to receive. Mm-hmm. And the thing that we do not realize is that before we give our money, we're giving our thought, we're giving our attention, mm-hmm. and we're giving our time. And many times money becomes the last thing. And so this is why we say give what feels good, because you could give any wonderful amount of money, but what is the thought behind that? And what are the thoughts that you're giving? What is the attention that you're giving in your life? And where and how are you giving of your time? Giving precedes and predetermines receiving.
Mm-hmm. Powerful.
So I want you to think about as you're giving, and I don't know, maybe I'm gonna have to record a version of it, because the song that we would sing in person at CSC, right? As I give, I receive. It's all coming back to me. I give my love, more love comes rushing back to me, right? I give my time, more time is available to me. I give my treasure, my money. Doors are opening for me. As I give, I receive. Yes, it's all coming right back to me.
Mm-hmm. I hear it in my head right now.
Yes, yes. And so, as we are saying, give what feels good, this giving, we use money as a representation because money is a spiritual idea. Money is simply God in action. What am I giving my thoughts to, my attention, my time, and my money? Because that's going to predetermine what you're receiving in the world. And if you don't like what you're receiving, examine those things.
That's what I was about to say. If you don't like what you're receiving, take a look at what you've been thinking
Lord
and what
have
you've
mercy.
been giving.
Yes.
And it's very simple.
It's spiritual law.
It's spiritual law. There's no judgment in it because you can change it the moment you recognize that you don't like what you've been giving.
Absolutely.
In thought, in action, in deed. If you don't like it, you can change it.
Absolutely. It's that easy.
It's that easy.
It's that easy. And so as we practice giving, using our money, as we practice giving what feels good, then we can tap into that vibration and live an absolutely prosperous life. And we do that and know that and affirm that by affirming this truth. All the money that I use,
All the money that I use
returns to me multiplied
returns to me multiplied.
in a never-ending cycle
Yes, in a never-ending cycle
of increase
of increase
and enjoyment.
and enjoyment.
To that we say amen.
Amen.
Ashe.
Ashe.
And so it is.
So it is.
Yes, yes. Well, we are so grateful and thankful for each and every one of you. We are so grateful and thankful to be here and to gather together in consciousness as a community on Sunday. Shout out to Affirmative Prayer Mastermind that are doing powerful prayer work. I trust that many of you will join in on the next round because, oh my goodness, this past week we tapped into some power. We healed so many things, and I'm excited about the miracles and answered prayers that are coming forth as a result of that consciousness and that gathering. I encourage you, of course, to join us on Wednesday morning at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for the Momentum Prayer Call, and then we will all gather together again as we close out this sermon series for the month of May, continuing looking at the last principle, looking at God is principle, the last aspect, and of course that'll be the last Sunday for this month. We love and appreciate you, sending love again to all the mothers and to your mothers. Please enjoy the day in whatever way you all are choosing to, and we will be back together next Sunday. Bye for now.
Bye for now.